It is Monday, the 29th of May, 2017, and school is officially in. Oh, Hey. Why does that seeming to get longer?
It gets longer every episode.
Every episode. Oh no, I am Mitch, and I am joined today by my wonderful, illustrious, noteworthy co-host. Today I'm gonna introduce Aaron first. Mr. Aaron.
Hello world, how y'all doing?
Less evergreen.
And let's put a point today than normal. Until he has to fix this episode tonight. And Mr. Ant.
What up? What up?
We are also joined today by Michael Eric Dyson in his long ass book
War and Peace.
It might as well be War and Peace and shit. About one of our favorite albums by one of our favorite MCs of all time, Mr. Nasir Jones. It is discourse about the illustrious Illmatic. It is long. It is drawn out. Today we will only be discussing the first three chapters, and the book is split up into two different parts. 40th Side North, which is one of the streets that separates the Queensbridge housing project where Nas actually lived and that this album is basically about. And the other one is 41st Side South, so those two streets. So the 40th Side North is the first set of songs on the album for Illmatic, and then 41st Side South is the second set. So today we're going to talk about Genesis, we're going to talk about New York State of Mind, and we're going to talk about what they're calling Time is Illmatic, but which is basically Life's a Bitch, his song with
Isn't that how the vinyl was split up?
Yep, that's how the vinyl was split up as well.
Yeah, they don't do the CD that way.
They don't do that on the CD, no.
That's dope.
It is dope. And I actually have the vinyl around here somewhere, but I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in this.
So does Aaron.
Well, Aaron read this whole book on the toilet in one day. So, hell yeah, Aaron got the vinyl.
Allegedly.
So, the first is Genesis, and it was written by, and now I am not going to be able to pronounce these names properly. I'm going to try.
We're sorry.
Some of these people's names are very difficult to pronounce. So I'm going to attempt it. So, the first, Genesis, is by, Dilsu Nama. That is probably wrong. But, it's fine. That's the first and last time I'm going to say it. So, so it's good. And then the album starts out with Genesis. And one of the first things that the writer talks about is Wild Style. It's the intro that Nas uses. He uses parts of Wild Style is a character Hector and the character Raymond, the brother, and he uses that part. Remember when I showed Wild Style to you guys before in class?
Briefly, yeah, I vaguely remember. I was halfway paying attention.
Oh, Lord.
I hate to admit that.
That you all don't know, Ant. That is so characteristic of him.
Oh man. Well, I think Wild Style before and after that too, though. So I get the premise.
Have you seen? Wait a minute, Ant. Have you seen Wild Style since then?
I've seen it since you shown it. I haven't seen it recently.
Okay.
I watched it. Don't show it.
But the author talks about how important it is. Like, really drives home how important it is.
He really drives home.
How important it is that Nas used that. But it is important.
I agree. That said, I was joking with Aaron one day. I said I no longer skip Genesis when I listen to Illmatic. You know, there were times, sometimes I'll put an album on and let it rock, but sometimes I'll skip like the intro, but not anymore after reading that chapter.
He's like, that chapter is like, how dare you skip Genesis?
Right. Never again. Never again.
That shit. You played that
Soak
shit.
it all in. Soak it all in.
And what's funny is that in essence that's exactly the statement you trying to make by putting it in there. Like, how dare you skip over the most important part of the culture.
Like, how dare you forget? How dare you forget where the culture has brought you?
Exactly.
You know, so it's like,
no, that's that shit, son. Leave it.
Right. No, that's that shit, son. That's that shit. He's like, this shit is whack. What is this? No.
That's the shit.
But it also introduces Nas as the cultural figure and icon that we know that he is.
Exactly. It sets the stage for his career.
It does. Like, what if that wasn't there?
I haven't thought about that. The Genesis is aptly titled.
It is. It's his beginning. Sorry, y'all. Today's motorcycle day. It's his beginning. It's his birth. Oddly, because those two samples. Because the author talks about how his Live at the Barbecue verse is joined with that.
Yeah.
So now he's linked forever. He's forever linked at the very beginning of his career. It's like he's stepping out for the very first time in his very first album. He has linked himself to hip hop at its beginning, to his beginning.
I think that's one of the things that give this particular album that much more personality, because a lot of other albums that did similar things after the fact didn't do that. You know what I mean? Like that, you know.
Didn't do it as efficiently.
Right.
Yeah. That actually makes me ask a couple of questions too. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that actually I'm kind of forgetting what I was gonna say. But I was just gonna say that there's a point made later in the book too about why the album is so popular. But when we get to that chapter, I'll bring that back up because I have that highlighted too.
Write that down because this long ass book will make you get lost in a long ass booklet.
When we get there, and it's part of the chapter we'll talk about it later on now.
Okay. But no, this makes me wonder. Because people will argue, like, and this is what this chapter or this part of it kind of argues. It's like, it's kind of saying, yeah, this is that real hip hop. This is that real hip hop. Like, this is that real shit. This is that real shit. But dude, you just said how real you were, but you want me to turn that shit off. That's wild style.
Right. Right.
So then it's like, and so the chapter brings it's like, so it actually puts us right where we are right now. Where people will be like, yeah, Kendrick, that's that real hip hop. That's that real hip hop. Right. They somehow know it's that real hip hop, but if you threw some Rakim on, they might be like, turn that shit off.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, huh?
Why do you think that is, though? I think that's weird.
I don't think so.
I'm a victim of that too. Like I love hip hop. I love older hip hop music, but like I draw a line at a certain decade. and I can't.
We know.
And I couldn't tell
Everybody
you why.
who doesn't know, Ant does not come outside the confines of like late 80s. If then.
I'm not sure what it is. I can't put my finger on it. Like, it's good. I love it. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything that they did. But I just can't listen to it all the time.
At least you appreciate it, though. Everybody doesn't appreciate it.
That's crazy. I don't understand.
I know some folks that will listen to the golden era, which for everybody listening, the golden era is not the mid-90s, okay? The cutoff for the golden era is like 92,
really?
93-ish, okay? It's the early 90s is where the golden era cuts off. It is not 94 or 95 or 96. Before
Lex Luthor hit the scene.
It's before Lex Luthor hit the scene, not not after. But like they'll love golden. They're like in 88, 87, 86-ish to about 92 is where golden era sits. Old school is everything prior to that. So everything that the Get Down was giving you from the inception, the Get Down is the Netflix series. So everything from the inception to about mid 80s, like 85, like middle of 86 is where old school hip hop era puts you. They don't like old school hip hop.
Right. And you know why I think that is though? I think it's because like when it come to hip hop music, for some reason, it's one of those things where you had to be there to really understand it. It's like what we was talking about before with like MC Ren. You was like MC Ren got rhymes that's like you had to be there for them. Like it's not always going to hit you like, oh man, that was dope, unless you grew up around that time. And I think it's the same thing with 90s rap. Like a lot of people who might look back, like younger kids will look back and be like, well, what was so great about, Biggie? What was so great about Raekwon? Like, who is he anyway? Like that kind of stuff.
Right.
Well, the thing with older music too is like you're saying, it wasn't just the music. It was what was going on socially and politically at the time that played a part into the lyrics.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But one thing I noticed. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Because I was just gonna say something about the time.
I was gonna speak on like I noticed Tribe and De La and groups like that. They intentionally left stuff like that out of the music so that it wouldn't date it. Like they wouldn't say the year on that one Tribe song. I can't think of it at the time. Like he said, they told me not to say the year. Yeah.
They don't have to say the year. Yep. But he would. Tip would get on and start yelling people out. People date you too.
True.
Like if you're yelling out, like he was yelling out the whole Native Tongues crew, that's gonna date you too.
Like, people listen to today like, who are these folks?
Who are these people? Who are these people you talking about? Who the hell is Extra P? Who is that?
Exactly, and that's one of those things that generally like artists don't do a lot of nowadays. So it's like when you hear it, and then like the 90s has a certain sound, the 80s had a certain sound, just like the 70s had a certain sound. So if you listening to it, you just automatically like, all right, I know this is old, and you know what I'm saying, like I ain't feeling it,
But the argument too could be because we were just talking about how just 2 seconds ago about stuff dating you. So yelling out your DJ perpetually or your DJ moniker at the beginning of songs will date your ass too.
Exactly.
Because you're not always gonna be banging DJ blah 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 whoever you are.
Right, but that's the importance of Genesis, because it's there to remind you that these are the rules and the aesthetics that we live by. Shouting out your DJ, bigging up your DJ. This is what we initially were doing from the get go. So it's not something that should be looked down upon if somebody was to do it today.
Oh no, I don't. That doesn't bother me. Like when people say that gets on their nerves. That's essentially the same thing as you said, like you saying, this is my DJ, this is my DJ. My only problem is back in the day when you did that, it was like, that shit was, this is my DJ.
Yeah, that
now
was
when you do it, now it is, this is the person who produced this track.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's a little bit different than saying this is my DJ. This is the man who's gonna make money off this track. Is what it means now. Before that shit used to mean this is the dude that does the music for my crew.
Right.
And I'm repping him because he is a part of me. He's a part of this culture. He is a part. I still see the parallel because you know a real song, like Pharrell from a Just Blaze, from a P Rock, to a Premier. Everybody has their own sound. Everybody has their own signature. Like we were just talking the other day when I sent you the stuff about how Pharrell does his intros. That 4-note intro.
Yeah.
But that 4-beat intro that comes in. But I think every time period, I do agree, Aaron, they have to find their own way and have their own signature way of doing things, and I get that. I definitely don't I don't fault anybody for that. Like, definitely make your mark and, do your thing. But remember that interview I did the other day, Aaron, about Ad Rock and how he was talking about, he was like, well, I don't play new shit, and I wouldn't expect that they would play old shit. Like, I don't want to hear what they gotta say, and they don't want to hear what I gotta say. But then then Heather B asked Ad Rock, though. She still asked him, and for everybody who doesn't know, Ad Rock he's a member of the Beastie Boys. But because MCA is deceased, Mike D and Ad Rock don't really do as much as they used to, because MCA was a very integral part of the Beastie Boys. Rest in peace to him.
Rest in peace. Right.
But then Heather B asked him, she's like, what if these people keep saying they love hip hop, but they've never heard, it takes a nation of millions to hold us back? And he's like, that's a problem.
Right.
That's like a problem he doesn't know how to solve, because he admits that the same thing everybody else says, that he's like, in rock music genres, that shit couldn't happen. Like, you can't do rock music but hate Led Zeppelin. Nobody's gonna accept you.
Exactly. Like, and that's my issue with, like, newer stuff. Like, I don't mind that you don't like older music. Like, I don't like hearing, older music all the time either. I like having a choice of whether I want to or not. Yeah. But I don't always like listening to older stuff, and I like listening to stuff that, was more prevalent to when I was coming up. But I got enough sense to respect what came before, and I think that's what's missing. People not respecting what came before. I'm gonna give you an example. I was watching House Party the other day with my cousin, and the part where
that gets this right here. Oh.
So we were watching the part where Kid and Play, they do the battle rap or whatever, and right before they get into it, Play started yelling out, he like, everybody in the house say ho, say yeah, and start doing that. And right there, I had to explain to her, I'm like, that's a no, he's not supposed to do that.
That is stupid.
Exactly, he's supposed to introduce himself before he started doing all that right there. And like, she was just taken aback, like, well, I didn't know that. And it's those little nuances, because I studied the culture beforehand, regardless of whether, late 90s, early 90s is like my favorite type of rap. I studied the culture beforehand to know those things.
He didn't big up Bilal either.
Yeah, he did not big up his DJ. What the hell was that shit?
Right.
He also called it corny and played out too, though. He was like, I can't believe y'all still going for them played out rhymes.
Right. But I think that was just to signify that, to people that didn't know that that's what he wasn't supposed to be doing. He did that first. first.
Can I just say too that that's one of the illest battles on wax.
It is. and wait a minute, and that's such a good point, because those were two of our more softer MCs that were rhyming at the time. it didn't matter if you were considered soft or hard. Everybody in general could battle.
Yeah.
And Kid Play used to have some of the hardest beats too. Even though they were
slept on. They so slept on.
Yeah, man. But see, you wouldn't see that kind of stuff today. Like these people who were like real like I was talking about in the other episode, they would be like PM Dawn or something. They'd be rapping off some little
right.
some, set adrift on memory bliss shit. Like you still didn't do that. Even if you were a little more lighthearted, you still had the hardest, most James Brownish sample with them hard ass funk, drums. And you were still coming like that. It didn't matter. It was a different time. Yeah, they really did.
But yeah, that's what I appreciate about Genesis. Like, it's that root, like y'all said. It's that root to you can't forget about the foundation that was laid here.
Yep. It establishes Nas as a purist, and so when people are always coming at him, that's what I lead in with. And who knew that Michael Eric Dyson knew how to assemble a bunch of people to write a long ass dissertation on a thing I could say in 3 or 4 sentences.
Which is right. Yeah, that's a skill in its own. That's a skill
by itself. But I do like the end of the chapter where the author talks about how, because Nas has made such an amazing album in Illmatic, that part of his task is not to try to replicate Illmatic, but it's more actually to extend the themes that are explored in Illmatic, and how true can he stay to the thematics of who he is, not only with that album, but who he is as an MC. How do you think he's done so far?
I think he's been pretty on course with that, building on the standards that he set forth in Illmatic. There's certain albums in between that people might not feel met that standard. But see, like when I first stayed away from Nostradamus because of the reception behind it. But when I finally listened to it, like I liked it. I knew it could have been better for a Nas album.
It's just a bad Nas album.
Right, and that's saying a lot though.
It is.
Because of the standard he set for himself. Mm-hmm. I feel like as an artist, he's grown on the concepts and the ideals that he was dealing with when he made Illmatic.
Well, he did say that he was, at the time he wrote that, he was trapped in those projects.
You can hear it.
You can. And you're supposed to change. You're supposed to be. Once he wasn't trapped there anymore, well, now what is he going to talk about? He has to grow and change. He has to. It actually has to happen, and that's my issue. And I was saying that to you guys, and me and Aaron were talking about it. It's really about evolution, and if the genre was evolving, we wouldn't give a shit. That's the reason why in different eras, even though the old heads would shit on the youngsters and the new ones be like, they might still respect them, but they was like, we ain't doing that shit no more. But as long as the genre stayed evolving, everybody was actually okay to step away.
Right.
They aren't okay to step away now because the shit is no longer evolving. It's still changing. It's just not evolving. It's not going higher.
I think it's too many subdivisions at play.
Did you just say that? Did you just say that?
Did he just say that?
It's too. No, like I'm not saying there's too many subdivisions out there. I'm saying counting too many that shouldn't be included in the discussion.
Like
what?
Like I don't think Yachty should be included in our discussion.
I don't think he should be included in anybody's discussions, but he keeps inserting his ass in this shit.
Particularly ours, though. Particularly ours. No, I don't think he should be included in that discussion.
But the only thing is, because he keeps inserting himself, he forces you It's just like back in the day. I didn't think Vanilla Ice should be inserted into shit, but he had to be dealt with. Like, what else are you gonna do?
No, that's true. That's true. Vanilla Ice was also. Did you see that video I just sent y'all? From Genius?
Like, what in the fuck?
Yeah, I feel like
that is not Vanilla Genius. There's Chocolate Genius. There's Chocolate Genius, and that's it.
Oh man. No.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. Our listeners are completely lost right now.
Tell them what to type in and to get to it.
Go on YouTube, I guess, and search in Genius and just Lil Yachty explain. What's the name of that song he was talking about? Peekaboo.
Peekaboo.
Oh, no.
Oh my God. Peekaboo. Lil Yachty explains Peekaboo.
Nah, but getting away from all that foolishness though. Not really, but getting away from it. I think that's necessary. Like, if you want to sit here and you want to come in the rap world, you want to be treated appropriately. Like, you don't come in here and then expect not to get smacked upside your head.
Did he really come into the rap world though? Did he really come into the rap world? Did the rap world start commenting on him?
No, he came into the rap world.
Yes, he came in. I understand the way they look at it, but if you gonna sit up here and say, you know, well, I don't care about, you know, this rapper or that rapper that was out, you know, before I came into the game, but, you know, I'm here, we just doing it the way we do it. If you want to sit there and make statements like that, then yeah, like, you know, now you want to get treated accordingly. Like, nobody is, when you sit up there and talk about some, oh, well, I feel like I'm the one being picked on, like, that's what happens in this world. Like, you know, people that in the best lyricists, like people that's in our, you know, top 5, top 10, you know, people that we talk about all the time and we hold in high regard, they got picked on. Like, LL got picked on for doing certain songs, you know what I'm saying? He's considered, like, you know, one of the best among some of us.
Now
you know
you
what
say
I'm
that, my ain't none of my top 5 been picked on.
Common been picked on. Common was picked on.
I'm naming my top 5.
But I'm saying though.
Wait a minute. Wasn't Common in top 5 at one time?
I don't think so. Nah. Andre was.
Even still, that's somebody that we hold in high regard. Would you agree?
Yeah, true. Yeah, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, people we held in high regard, they got picked on.
They're gonna be scrutinized, and they should be.
Well, you should be scrutinized. Everybody should be.
They present themselves as lyricists, as MCs, but I don't think. I've never considered. But this is a different episode. I've never considered, like, Yachty and Uzi and all of them other fools MCs. I don't think they presented themselves as MCs.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter when you walk into the genre, though. If you walk into the genre and you start utilizing our audience, okay, you're pimping our audience.
That's basically what they're doing. Yeah.
I don't want to hear that I'm not a rapper, I'm not an MC shit. When you are exploiting the MC rapper title and you're gaining access to our audience, fuck you. I don't want to hear your semantic bullshit. Take your semantics and cram them up your ass.
The same thing happened with Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer. Like, they, you know what I'm saying? They came into the game doing that, you know, that bull crap, and like nobody was playing that. You know what I'm saying?
MC Hammer there is a small group of people out there that regard him as a capable lyricist.
His first album, everybody loved MC Hammer. We all did. Nobody attacked him for his first album. His first album, like, everybody was like, all right, cool. I love his first album. It is his second album. Established, get the fuck out of here with this shit, Hammer.
Now,
it was
just clear it up for the fans.
Right.
Yes, but MC Hammer had bars at one point.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make, though, is that, like, plenty of people have had to defend themselves in this genre, and that's just because of the way it's designed. Like, even Jay-Z always got some response on, you know, oh, I heard they said they made Hov. You know what I'm saying? Like, he always got
make another Hov. So yeah, he
right.
has to keep defending himself.
Yeah, like, that's just what happens in this. You know what I'm saying? It's plenty of people that So when you step on the football field and then you get hit and then talking about some weight, I'm not a football player. Like, you can't be doing that shit.
Well, I mean, yeah. But like I said, that's another problem. You know, they pumping the fans, but they not playing the same sport.
And that's when you get ejected off the fucking field.
It should be. Yes,
if you're gonna be on the field, you gotta play the game up. So that's the end of period 1. So we're on second period, and so we're moving to the second chapter. The second chapter is about the very, very first song, not the intro, the full song, New York State of Mind, which was written by, so Hail Doladzai. I can't. Again, I'm not saying that again, people, unless we get to the part where they start writing stuff again. I have to say their name again. But it's officially titled A Rebel to America's New York State of Mind After the Towers Fell. And so it does a lot of parallels between Nas's song and 9/11. Like pre 9/11, post 9/11. It was probably one of the deeper chapters.
It was very deep.
A lot of shit going on in that chapter.
And that was one of the chapters that I just couldn't. I don't know if I disagreed with the connection he was making or it just went over my head. But yeah.
You know what? I actually plugged way into this. I think it's partially because I'm a year younger than Nas, and I lived through Reaganomics as a kid. So everything that the author was talking about, I completely plugged into everything, and I understand. You know, when he was talking about COINTELPRO, which is an acronym for everybody who doesn't know. But COINTELPRO is basically, it's like all the secret organizations in this country, especially the FBI. Their quote unquote programs or their counterintelligence programs that were covert and many times illegal, that came through and targeted certain what they would call subversive individuals. So like the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Power Movement, MLK, Black Panthers, feminist groups, some supremacist groups like KKK too, but they attempted to shut down anything that they considered subversive and something that was going to attack the law and order of the government. So
they got all that from
but rightfully so, because you have to remember, this is a talk about hip hop, and hip hop was born out of all of those and because of all of those things.
Absolutely.
You know, it came from the street because we needed something to shut down. Yeah, we needed an outlet. We needed some creativity, like we always do in this country. Jazz was born out of the same thing. So, you know, jazz was highly political. Well, bebop, 100%.
Right.
And so when you pull all that out of it, or anybody who's listening, when you pull all of that social commentary out in that backdrop, what are you left with when you don't have that?
Trap
and
music?
this album is Well, yeah, pretty much. That's why the fuck we're here.
Oh man, don't remind me.
And but that's really what Nas was saying when he said hip hop is dead, because you have taken the guts out. You took out the beating heart. You take out the guts and the heart. What are you left with? What do you have?
It's the anus.
I mean, but see when you say it like that. when you say it like that.
Eric, did you just say it's an anus?
That's what I said. That's what you're left with. When you take out the guts and the heart, that's what you're left with.
Well, there are pretty much just overabounding assholes, so I would say you are. Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry.
I was saying when you say it like that, it make it seem like, well, hip hop was, the culture itself was like better off when it was, surrounded by poverty.
I would argue that it was.
You would?
I would. Hip hop, from a perspective of success, is effective. Let's take the whole money cash holes argument as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Like you give struggling people a couple dollars and they apparently lose their minds.
Right. It's easy. I could see where you're coming from on that, because it's easier to explain graffiti artists or grab artists. When you ain't got no money, so it's like, where else they gonna write but on the walls? They can't afford the paper, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I agree on that point, but I feel like the responsibility is left. Like nobody took responsibility for for the foundation that was built.
Mm.
And now they don't even acknowledge the foundation.
Well, that's part of my issue, is that the foundation is gone and you don't acknowledge it. So now it's like you're doing shit in an abandoned building, it's not standing on a foundation. It's going to get just swept up and taken away, which is what's happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say hip hop was better when everybody was impoverished, but I will say is that I think it was better when it came from a real place. I don't think that's true. It's not coming from a real place anymore.
Yeah, and
not as abundantly.
No, not at all. It's just like when you get like artists that talk about what's his name, Superstition. You get artists like Superstition and stuff that they'll talk about, like, just dealing with the day to day, having bills and working a 9 to 5, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't realize that that's more so the energy that hip hop comes from. You don't necessarily have to be a drug boy on the corner, or had to be growing up in a house where you was starving and you had to do what you had to do to survive. Like, that's not always the narrative.
It's like, I don't like the whole it's abandoned reality for fantasy and everything. It's just about this uber leaving of reality, going to a place of like this ghetto fabulousness. Because the first chapter talked about how it actually basically talked about my Peter Pan theory that we always talk about. It's like the middle class, predominance of like, middle class black people pulling themselves up, that has been abandoned. We are in full blown the ghetto as the pinnacle of everything you can do is now what everybody strives to. As if that's the highest like zenith you can hit, even though traditionally in our American societies and cultures that has not been true. But you look at Bad and Bougie. That's the place to strive for.
That's the example that's what's promoted these days.
But it's been like that. It's been like that for a long time. Like,
now, do you blame the machine behind these artists, or do you blame the people that are buying this stuff?
well, okay. So if you go back to the beginning, like where the author's talking about how the sample in New York State of Mind, like the first part of the sample is a song called Flight Time. Yeah. And that Primo uses by Donald Byrd. And then the author apologizes for outing the sample to Primo. I was like, that is so fucking hip hop. Most people wouldn't understand why the author even apologized. They wouldn't even get it. It would be like, why did the author apologize to Primo?
He heard that skit on Moment of Truth.
Well, everybody who really knows,
you don't feel that shit.
You don't tell anybody what you use.
That was the owners. I mean, that was the owners, wasn't it?
Was it? No, I don't think so.
I think it was the owners. We can look that up later.
But you don't out the sample. You never out the sample. That's something that how Aaron was just talking about the things you don't do in hip hop.
That's one of them.
That's one of them. You don't do that. But then when he was talking about that, he was saying that song that was sampled by Primo is sampled without the airplane being taken off. There's an airplane taken off the bit, and so the song is sampled without the airplane flight, which in their mind symbolized that I'm stuck here.
Right.
I can't leave this place.
Right.
I'm in this ghetto and I can't get out. And the author was really talking about kind of like this, civilization versus savagery, which we have talked about a zillion times. The themes that he's talking about are the same themes that we talk about, and there's a reason for that. There is brilliance in that. Even if you don't buy into the fact that maybe that shit was a little overreaching.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you don't really author the symbolization. But let's just say you do. Like, he's stuck there and he's leaving in his mind, and he's writing and telling you what he sees with his mind, with his words. But the civilization and the savagery that went on in this country, and the author also talks about how it's basically about being black or brown. It doesn't matter if you're in this country, in America, or if you're in the third world. Anybody that's a threat to the quote unquote normalities of America, like if you go around about way to get to the American dream, it's like you're a problem. But to bring it back to what you're saying again, the author then talks about, because where this album sits is on the precipice between the issues we were about to start having between what was considered a pure form of what we have been doing with hip-hop and the commercial direction in which that shit was about to go.
Yeah, right. It's almost prophetic.
It was. So
I don't think it was intentionally prophetic.
That's actually hard. With Nas, it's hard to say.
Yeah, some things about the book are debatable, but
I mean, they
I like the part.
They draw a lot of comparisons with later albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Nas always, draw back off of, stuff that he laid down before and, bring it back.
Yeah.
That's true. But I mean, my point is, I guess with what I was saying before and what Anthony was talking about is, like what wound up happening is what Anthony is talking about. Like we went from being the outside savages to then becoming part of the status quo.
Right. And that's a problem because like right here in the book where it says like it compares hip hop to bebop, where like where it creates its own community and, you know, like made its own set of rules to set validation, you know, amongst each other. I feel like with that playing a part, like, you know, money and status quo and all of that, with that kind of thing playing a part, it divided things.
Which it should. I think it should. I think that division is healthy to an extent, especially with the direction that hip hop took after Illmatic came out. You know what I mean? Like there's like two clear cut audiences. There's like the mainstream audience and then the underground audience.
Yeah, but see, that's the point I'm trying to make though. Like that happens because we let outside sources, you know, break up with, you know, the foundation of, you know, like we just talking about, like these rules and stuff. Like nobody cares about like these rules that we talking about right now. People are like, either people gonna sit there and, well, damn, I ain't know that, or they gonna be like, well, nobody does that anymore anyway, and who cares? Like, why are y'all? You know,
but again,
so like
again, in that situation, do you blame the machine that's behind the music that's pushing this garbage, or do you blame the people that's eating it up?
You blame both.
Do you blame the hunter that puts the knife in the ice, or do you blame the wolf that's trying to live?
Both. I blame both because each can do better and each should do better. Each chooses not to do better.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a part of like what the author's talking about, you know, like coming out of America, because the author had family in Afghanistan during the time that 9/11 happened, and they were talking about, you know, America declaring itself as a superpower, and, you know, America in all its rhetoric throughout the years declaring itself as the, you know, that dominant force in the world, and saying, you know, New York is America, just like Nas saying a New York state of mind. We are, you know, we are this world.
That's kind of how the world looks at it.
But here's my problem with that with humans. It's all the fucking same. It wouldn't matter.
Sure.
Switch it over to something else, it'd be the same fucking thing. It's just because you aren't in control that you have something to say about it. What if it was somebody else?
Right.
They be saying the same thing. Like flip it to, you know, Rome being a superpower, or flip it to China being a superpower, or flip it to Russia being a superpower. The only thing that ever changes is who's controlling it. And all of us would have this outlook, and everybody, the world is a ghetto. It's one big ghetto. So, I mean, that's the way I see it. I don't really see it like the author sees it. Like, Nas could be talking about anyone, anywhere that lives on the fringes of any society. And the author does talk about that. But you got to look at every society. If you look at predominant society, because people are people, it runs the same way. It just legitimizes itself. That's all. The exact same way.
This particular author, though, came from a perspective that he or she related to. Is this person a male or female? I don't want to assume their gender.
With that name, I don't know who these people are with these names. They could be one or the other. I don't.
Yeah.
I have to look them up and see.
Yeah. This particular author, though, I understood where they were coming from because of the fact that they had family in that part of the world during what was going on politically. And I didn't have as much trouble as the previous chapter with this one, but like you said, some of it some of it might be reaching, but if you assume that it's not, they make valid points.
Yeah, well, one of the best points I think, and then we'll go to lunch, is that Nas was integral, probably one of the most integral parts of snatching power back from the West. Like, he was dominant and forefront in taking that power back. Like, oh yeah? You think this shit gonna be West Coast? It's not all gonna be you. It's still some viable MCs here.
Right, and not just the West, but that commercialized aspect of what rap music was.
Because he was able to, because Nas has always been able to walk that line.
To an extent.
Not a lot of MCs can do that though.
To an extent though. A lot of mainstream fans, like, they acknowledge Nas's presence, but they consider him corny.
I don't know anybody who falls into that category.
The average listener, like, there was a kid leaving your class one day who was talking about why he don't like Nas, and he said, and I quote, "Nobody want to hear what you thinking all the time."
And ditto, no one wants to hear what you're thinking, kid, because it was probably nothing. All right, it's time for lunch.
Out to lunch. Lunch this week. Out to lunch this week will be a little lighthearted. As it ties into the topic, because Michael Eric Dyson, I write long ass books, Dyson. he's definitely out to lunch for this particular in his catalog. And I feel it's only right to discuss this topic in length and the biggest words possible.
Let's get both burst and wordy.
We have to pontificate extensively on this particular subject of occurrences.
Because Michael Eric Dyson in big words.
Oh shit!
There's no reason for this book to be this extensive. It's a 10-track album. One of those tracks is the intro. Like, come on, son. Come on, son. Give us a break. But I do appreciate the effort and the time they put into it.
It's dope.
But
it's dope as hell.
I can listen to Illmatic in its entirety while reading the introduction.
Yeah, you can. You can read the intro in chapter 1 and like the album in chapter 1. Like, you're at halftime. You're listening to halftime easily. And I read pretty fast.
I do too. So like the average reader, I
was playing this shit. I was playing that shit while I was reading. I'm telling you, I was still on Genesis, but my album was on Represent.
Damn.
It's the album. It's over.
It's over. That shit was on Represent. I was like, well, damn.
This shit is ridiculous. Like, they hats off to all authors who took part in this project.
And I'm sure that Michael Eric Dyson pulled them aside and said to them, "This is what I want you to do. I want you to read all of my books, and I want you to see how verbose, wordy, and scholarly and didactic that I am."
He let them read the preface. He wrote the preface and sent it to them and was like, "You got to do like this."
I need you to be as verbose and wordy and overreaching as my ass.
Come with it. Break it down. Hey, bro,
I need you to break down the breakdown. Break down the breakdown. And then when you think you're done, break down the breakdown's breakdown.
That's how they approach this project. This book, like, for a whole, what is it, like 240 some pages?
Yeah.
They've stuffed as much as they could in that 240 some pages as humanly possible.
You know, like, and this is my own personal reason why I think he out to lunch. I noticed like in public, more so publicly, he quicker to cape for people like Jay-Z, Biggie, and people like that. But you can tell how big a Nas fan he is by how in depth this book is.
I feel like he's been working on it for years.
I think he started working on it when Illmatic dropped.
Damn. No, you know what? I think I think I agree with that because he probably started writing the chapter on One Love like way back then.
Man.
He had to. This guy.
Cause I don't know. I mean, like that's like we didn't get to that part yet, of course, but that's like that chapter is more so personal to him.
I think so too. It is. Cause I did get further in the book. You know, I kind of kept reading, but because this book is so, we have to go back and read it again before we talk about it because you already remember what the fuck you read.
I already started over again. I started over like twice. I haven't gotten all the way through this book. I've been reading this book for 2 years now. Like I had to sit it down.
Aaron read it once on the toilet and remembers
on
it.
The motherfucking toilet. So
that would mean that the two of us are stupid.
Allegedly.
Okay, I want to give that the biggest Forrest Whitaker ever, and if everybody doesn't understand when we say shit like that, Forrest Whitaker is our term for side eye. So whenever we don't say side eye, we just say Forrest Whitaker. So that's just some Forrest Whitaker right there.
You get the meanest Whitaker you can find.
Like Aaron, how the fuck? Seriously. That was the longest crap ever that you took that you were able to Michael Eric Dyson.
That had to be baked beans and hot sausages.
I hate you.
Man, like there's no way. I still haven't got through this book, man. I read several other books in between starting this book and now.
I finished 3 books.
Yeah, I was kind of in the zone, to be honest. Like I had just read Trisha Roll's Hip Hop Wars before that too.
Look, I read Can't Stop, Won't Stop, which is also it's also very dense.
This is like a textbook though.
Lord have mercy.
I feel like I normally wouldn't read a book like this unless I had homework connected to it.
Well, we do though.
I do now, which is why I'm reading it again. Man, this book asks for too much. I gotta be the best me I can be to sit down and read this book.
Michael Eric Dyson inspires you to be the best you can be.
Just to get through a 240-page book. Like I think this book is shorter than Mice and Men.
It fucking is.
Mice and Men was a short book. I read that.
Do you know how long it took us to read of Mice and Men?
Mice and Men was easy.
Look, I taught y'all to kill a mockingbird. I taught y'all to kill a mockingbird and freaking Othello in a shorter time it is taking us to read this book.
Yeah, it took me shorter to read Othello with all of these vowels and all that other fancy Shakespearean stuff.
Iambic pentameter and fucking iambic pentameter in it, and it has long ass monologues.
Yes, it does.
And asides.
Wait a minute. Y'all reading on like regular copies, aren't y'all?
I'm reading. Oh, you got the deluxe edition?
No, I got it on Kindle.
You got the deluxe
edition.
No,
I'm reading that shit. I'm reading that shit on my Google Play books. It's still the same thing.
240 some pages. I read Frankenstein faster than I read this.
Look, I read World of Worlds in one afternoon. I sit down and I cracked that shit open and was like, I think I'll read World of Worlds today, and I read that shit.
Man, I read Mo Meta Blues and One Day It'll All Make Sense in like 2 weeks.
Yep. I did both of those in like a week. I read very quickly. I
typically do too, but this right here, I had to go back a couple times, highlight some stuff, like read it twice. I can't just
I
do it
also
in one
feel
sitting.
as though that Michael likes to push. He likes to push those boundaries. And I feel
he's
like
trying to get that joint. He's trying to get that joint in college. He's trying to get that.
He's
trying to get that joint.
Like,
Get that joint in the curriculum somewhere.
Look, you know what? There isn't anything wrong with that. And he did write it as though this would be the book that you would use for the whole Nas curriculum.
Yeah. Yeah, because they pull in references to older albums. Like he really enjoys his Godson, from what I could tell. He makes a couple comparisons to Godson.
Talk
was
about
Godson the latest album that came out by the time this book was published?
No, because he was one of the authors was talking about how Nas's, I can't say his title of this album title, which is titled "Nigger," was about to come. Was about to come out.
Oh yeah, it was 09.
Okay.
But he was still married at the time, so there you go.
Yeah. So this book came out a while back, so I feel like there's an update somewhere coming.
No.
There's an update.
There's an update coming.
What kind of update?
That didn't come out right.
Want to use Mike's 2, how it was written, like what the fuck?
2.0, like he's gotta pull in some of the
That's not funny. What's actually coming out, Aaron, is not boring to use Mike's. The album that's coming out it was written.
Seriously?
He don't sound the fucking second album.
I don't believe it. I'm about to
look. You still working on that? Yeah. So
it was like, and now it was
while we talking about it was written, I just want to say, like, I feel like there are times there's a discussion that's not really highlighted, but there are times where I feel like it was written is better than Illmatic. It comes and goes.
Yeah.
It comes and goes.
I would like to engage with you in that. Not today, because
we don't have a lot of time.
When they come back from lunch, I would like to also offer up the fact that I could be with you for the first half of the album until that shit goes Gambino on you, like right in the middle, and then all of a sudden everybody is in the fucking Godfather too. Like I would agree.
That's what I'm saying. It depends. It comes and goes. Like there are times, depending on my mood, where I feel like it was written is better than Illmatic.
Everything
can we get back
up to we can. But y'all just brought me back to why Lauryn Hill a legend too, because she called that out and she featured on that album.
On one of the infamous singles.
Yep, and she called it out when she say stuff like something about you playing Al Capone. I'm Nina Simone, definitely on the microphone. Like she called people like Nas out, and she was featured on that album. So I think that's dope. That's legendary in its own right.
Well, that shit during that time, like it was getting more to the pinnacle point. It had crossed over that pinnacle point at that time.
It was.
By the time his second album came out, it was moving towards that way. Because I mean, we used to joke back in the day, those of us who were part of the resistance, that all you had to do, like, to make rhymes at that point was to say, like, to make 3 to 6 references to certain things, like clothing, like reference Versace, make 3 Gambino references, talk about people who knew that were Peruvian, talk about money and some chains, and bam, there you had a rhyme.
You had a rhyme, yeah. And then that decayed to the point, so far to the point that nigga actually put a song out where all he said was Versace.
Yep. And when I heard that shit, I was like, was he alive in the 90s?
He heard the argument.
Talking like, Versace! Just say it 10 times, you got a rhyme. Versace. It was like Biggie had a baby and he just came out screaming Versace.
No, man.
Alright, that's love. But see, folks forget shit like that because you don't have a lot of people who have good memories about what it was like back then and what, everything wasn't all gravy. Everybody wasn't like happy and stuff like that. Oh, like, oh, this is great. 90s was great. No, there were that shit had begun to splinter off at that point. You had a whole group of people like the native tongues and you know, people who were fighting against this mass commercialism that the other MCs were jumping over into.
Got so much flack for
what they do was 100%. Look at the video for what they do.
Yeah, they did what they do, but they got a lot of flack for working with Jay-Z too.
Well, they did because they were part, like at the forefront of the movement against all of that shit.
Yeah.
Like what they do video, they stood around and they satirically made fun of all of it.
And Questlove talks about that in his book. He talks about being at the club with Mos Def when Mos Def did Children's Story. And Questlove was in the club chilling with Puffy. And Children's Story was about Puffy. And Quest was like overly hyped about how dope Children's Story was, but he was sitting there with Puffy. Right. And Puffy wasn't too enthused by his reaction to it. Puffy's apparently like the most gangster nigga in hip hop ever. Like,
people don't even realize it. They don't even. Puffy don't know who the fuck they be dealing with. They don't know who they talking to. They don't know who they dealing with. Like, it's like the Luthor. They don't know who they with. They don't know who they with.
He likes Luthor for a reason.
You will wake up with a horse head in your bed.
He told you won't hate me now. He said he got millions of thugs on salary.
You don't want to get help. You don't want it.
Yeah.
Like
sitting there for all that heat. Quest for all that heat.
Well, you know what? And that's the other thing about a lot of the issues and problems that happened afterwards, and then we'll go to chapter 3. But he Suge underestimated Puffy because Puffy likes to dancing around in a shiny suit.
Yeah.
And I direct everyone to the movie Usual Suspects. I will not give you a spoiler alert, but I have 2 words to say to you: Puffy and Kaiser Soze. That's all I'm gonna say.
Hey yo.
Oh man. Fuck Kaiser Soze. Shout out to Kevin Spacey, man.
So the 3rd chapter. We're back from lunch in the 3rd chapter. Important to you, like we're talking about today. It's called "Time Is Illmatic," a song for my father. A letter to my son, which is actually the chapter that's about life's a bitch.
The first track that caught my attention on that album.
Mine too, but everybody who knows anything about that track. This track has one of those polarizing sort of debates about. Well, you know how everybody debates like whose song Renegade is. Yeah,
okay.
It's like that because everybody's like, no, that's AZ's song. That's AZ's song. But if you listen to Nas's rhyme over the years, it gets to become difficult whose song it really is and who had the better,
Regardless of whose song it is, I judge someone's opinion on their ability to recite Life's a Bitch or not. If they can't recite Life's a Bitch, then you lose a little bit of credibility.
Wow, that's deep. Oh, by the way, this chapter was written by someone whose name I can pronounce, Guthrie P. Ramsey Jr.
No.
Thank you, parents of Guthrie P. Ramsey Jr. No, I'm just joking. I'm not about ethnic cleansing. I love everyone who has names I can't pronounce as well as anyone who I can't. That's just a joke. Go ahead.
Yeah. Guthrie P. made a good point about the structure itself of the rhyme for both verses.
He really did. Mm-hmm. Which illustrates the reason. Early on, when we first started talking about the podcast, those who don't know, a lot of y'all won't know, I suggested talking about like
the composition itself of verses and
Yes.
samples and bars and stuff like that. And Guthrie P actually touches on that point in this chapter where he talks about
That's
how
what most of it is actually about.
yeah, about the structure itself of the verses and how they chose to interact with each other as MCs. And what he was saying basically is that, like, the sample for one was the complete polar opposite of what Life's a Bitch turned out to be. The song that they sampled.
Yep.
That's
very true.
I'm looking for the title of the song.
It's Yearning for Your Love.
Thank you.
Gap Band.
By the Gap Band.
Yeah, by the Gap Band. And but they spoke on how that's like the polar opposite of Life's a Bitch itself, and that speaks to why Nas chose it, I think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
You
like
know
this,
what?
This perpetual irony.
It's funny that you. Sorry. Yeah, it is. It's funny that you should say that, Aunt, because the irony too that was kind of pointed out with what you were just talking about is the fact that even then and probably definitely now, people listening to it can't understand the parallels and the musicality of what the author was talking about, which is sample-based hip-hop, because it's not that way anymore.
Right, yeah, it's not like people don't look at it like that anymore. They don't feed into the samples that are chosen, they just look at the product as it's presented.
And they don't get why it's important. And people who that were, especially during our time, that were doing sample-based hip-hop, and like, you know, you guys who are kind of like really throwback, they understand using their voice as an instrument in part of the song.
Right.
And the two of them delivered that shit like instruments.
Right, and that's why I think they delivered it the way that they did on that track.
I agree.
Because like if you listen to AZ's verse is more hungry and looking at the future, you know what I'm saying, of things. Whereas Nas is more laid back, more reminiscent and satisfied, you know what I'm saying, with the situation at hand.
And what his progress that he made at that point.
Yeah.
And but of course he must remind you that he has something that will crack your whole cabbage. You need that.
Of course, it's a rap song, so you know you gotta crack the cabbage. Yeah. But Aaron knows. Like the first time I heard "Life's a Bitch," it was a remix. It was the Arsenal remix, which is more energetic, more aggressive almost. So my question is, with that being, how do you feel about the remix now?
Now looking at it the way that I just like laid out for y'all, I don't like it as much. But I mean, even with the juice rappers in there, like they reference. But I'm gonna tell you why though, because like it speaks more to the energy that AZ giving than it does to what Nas is doing.
I get that, and that's a little biased too, because like it's arguable that AZ has the best verse. Right. That depends on the perspective that you're listening to the track from.
It definitely does. Because I mean, you can't just say, "Oh yeah, you know, AZ's verse is the best." Back in the day, we used to do that because of, you know, our youth and the way we, you know, looked at it. But then, you know, you step away, you live life a little bit, you read a book that Michael Eric Dyson has inspired. and then you start reflecting and you're like, wait a minute. Not only is Nas, you know, delivery is just the way he executed that, and the way he took you from the beginning to like this, you know, he's kind of looking at this as the beginning of the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. So it's very introspective. It's not just, you know, that I gotta get out here and hustle.
Yeah, AZ is more urgent. AZ verse is more urgent, whereas it's like sitting back, progress is made.
You gotta take into consideration that his daughter was just born around that time too, so that gives you a different perspective on life.
It does, and also that, you know, no matter what, you know, no matter how I can, you know, try to change myself to change this world, don't get it twisted. I got something right here that could crack your whole cabinet.
I want to say two things. One, I'm glad you said what you said because there's a point in the chapter where they mention the first like scholarly breakdown of hip hop, where they talk about a book called Black Noise, Rap Music and Culture in Contemporary America. And I looked at that as kind of a dab of the book that Michael Eric Dyson was putting together. You know what I mean? It's like a breakdown for people that are on the outside looking into the culture. Mm-hmm. Like these type of books aren't necessarily necessary for people like us who look at these albums and break them down naturally, because that's what we.
Yeah, because I can sit around having conversations like I just said about dude was like, who wants to think all the time?
Right, exactly. Yeah, we get a kick from that. That's what we like to do.
Yep.
And then on another note, though, like life's a bitch. I just wanted the opportunity to go ahead and recite that.
No.
Because it's
Look
so
here,
much fun.
Michael Eric Dyson.
It's just so much fun. Like
Life's a bitch is like one of the best things because life's a bitch is and you die. That's why we get high.
Then you die. My dad used to say that all the time.
That's why we get high because you never know when you're gonna go. Ever.
It's true. Truer words than never been spoken.
I was actually introduced to Nas by that song. My friend Donnie at the time, shout out to my boy Donnie wherever you are, that he was like, I was one of the only women that he had ever encountered who actually really loved hip hop, not liked rap music but loved hip hop, and he was like really blew back by that. So he was like, I need you to listen to this dude, and the first song he played me was Life's a Bitch. And you got to remember, even at that time, everybody was like, it's AZ's verse. So I'm thinking, is he trying to get me to hear AZ? I was like, this shit is fucking dope as hell. I was like, but then behind that, he played the song we're going to review the next time we come back is The World Is Yours. And I about to have a heart attack.
That shit is beautiful.
But people... And like how you were talking about that dude talking about not want to talk about people thinking all the time. Sometimes you would get shit like Jay-Z talking about Nas ain't really deep just because he be talking about what the shit you don't understand.
I always had a problem with that line. Like, who don't understand this? Shut your right. I was great.
Right. But it's not just that. It's like it's everything. It's everything that we're talking about now. We're talking about, it's not just what he says, it's the way, like these records are produced. It's the way, like the thought that was put into sampling certain stuff, and just the way things were done, the way you decided to flow compared to the way you could have actually flowed over the record. It's all of that.
And to set the standard that people don't understand that is dangerous.
Right.
And I didn't like that either. I was like, dude, you don't understand it. Just because you don't get it doesn't mean the rest of us don't.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah, and people,
it will still crack your whole cabbage. So fuck you.
It cracked Jay-Z's cabbage. His cabbage ain't been the same since. His cabbage is no longer cabbage. It ain't been the same since.
That's hilarious. But no, I didn't like that either. And I was like, I really hated that shit. Like I think there is my life before Jay-Z said that, and then my life after Jay-Z, or my life with Jay-Z before he said that, and then my life with Jay after he said it. After he said that, I was kind of done.
Jay-Z needs to be his own episode.
Hey, you want to waste the episode? No, okay. Sorry.
It's not a waste. It ain't a waste because Jay-Z got what it takes to be one of these all-time lyricists. Like, he deserves to be in the top 5 discussion.
Plus, I think a lot of times we go a different route. Like, I think it come up a lot of times. It come up a lot of times like we just don't like the bull.
Because he tells you he sold out. He plays out quite plainly that he sold out to make more money, and I don't understand why people are okay with that.
It's a total waste. It's a total waste. Like, I don't hate Jay-Z. I've always loved him, but it's a love-hate.
Yeah, right. I love to hate him.
Well, I think me and Aaron love him a little bit more than you do.
I do. Jay-Z gets respect from me. He gets respect from me. I respect him for what he did. I respect him for his business acumen and all that, and I understand that he has the potential to be the type of lyricist that he's supposed to be. But at the same time, I don't like the fact that he sold out to pander to a certain audience.
But he ain't rap like Common Sense. He told you.
No, and I'll tell you from the rip, like Moment of Clarity from the Black Album is my defense to the argument that Jay-Z is better than Nas. I'll dispute you and I'll use Jay-Z's lyrics to tell you why.
Okay.
What? Okay.
I'll dispute you on that, and I'll use Jay-Z's lyrics to tell you why. A lot of people will argue to death that Jay is better than Nas, and I'll use Moment of Clarity is my reason why he's not better than Nas.
Why?
Oh, okay.
Because he tells you why. If skill told and truth be told, I probably be lyrically Talib Kweli.
Yeah.
Truth be told.
You're right.
I went around like Common Sense, but I did 5 mil. I ain't been around like Common Sense. There's a lack of integrity there. There's no
really?
honor with it. Yeah, there's a lack of integrity.
But see, Aaron and I will argue that happened on Rap Game, Crack Game. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was long before that. He been out of this stuff.
It happened, but he tells you plain, like in plain
but
language.
But he does tell you on Rap Game, Crack Game too.
Not just that, like the beginning of In My Lifetime, he just like, what'd he say?
He does. Yeah.
He said I ain't a rapper, I'm a hustler. Just so happens I know how to rap. He warning you. This is the course my career is about to take.
But that's more artistic, that's more poetic. Like you gotta dig that from that line. And Moment of Clarity, he tells you. He's like, look.
But in Rap Game, Crack Game,
I know better, I can do better, but I'm not gonna do it.
And I'm telling you, listen to Volume 1. Rap Game, Crack Game, he literally tells you, so I'm about to take this shit here that I do, I'm about to put it in its most disgusting form, and I'm going to sell that shit to you like I was selling crack on the street. I'm going to sell this shit to you on the street like I sold crack. It's a fucking brilliant ass metaphor. It's a brilliant ass metaphor, but it's still disgusting.
Boo.
I'll give you some boos, but it was amazing. It was fucking irresponsible.
But at the same time, too, he gets credit for flipping that into a dope line.
Look, I give him credit for using an extended metaphor and to use that shit to in the. It's ironic that the song comes off that way, and that I'm going to tell you how disgusting I'm going to get, and I'm going to do it with eloquence and style.
It's almost a double entendre.
Watch me
to the one group listening to it,
crack.
Oh, that's a hot line. To the other group listening to it, he's explaining why he's telling you bullshit.
Am I the only one that's mad we talking about this dude in the middle of a Born to Use Mike's conversation? Like,
no,
Jay-Z and Nas are forever connected.
I think they are. I think that's the reason why we're having this conversation, because you can't. It's like you can't separate Boyz II Men and Jodeci. Like you're always gonna talk about Boyz II Men, and the next breath you talk about Jodeci because it's apart.
You can't talk about the one without talking about the other.
Nope.
Just like you can't talk about Biggie without talking about Tupac.
Nope.
You can't talk about Rakim without talking about Big Daddy Kane.
I was just getting ready to go there, and you can't. You can't. Like, you're always gonna talk about, because those are predominant MCs at that time. Nas and Jay-Z were each other's nemesis.
Kendrick and J. Cole.
Are they really nemesis though?
They in the same boat. I
would argue that Big Sean is supposedly his nemesis.
Really?
I mean,
that's what
no. No, the only person out right now that I can compare Kendrick to is probably J. Cole.
I didn't say you could compare him. I said what's going on. I think the one that he comes at is Big Sean. I think so. They go at each other.
I feel like Big Sean is part of the discussion because he's just bad enough to not be horrible.
Wow.
Like the Yachties and the Uzis and all them other motherfuckers. But he's like the bare minimum. Big Sean is like the bare minimum.
Well, speaking of Illmatic and not the bare minimum. That's the end of third period. We're gonna end third period, and we got recess for you guys.
We got recess. Go ahead, read that.
Let me ring that bell. We got some good recess actually.
That bell is way too long. We need to cut it.
Cut it.
So for recess today, because we're talking about Illmatic, I feel it's only right we talk about the artist who put out a project called Illmatic. Elzhi, I think he's from Detroit. Is he from Detroit? Yeah.
He is from Detroit, Michigan.
Elzhi, who I just learned his real name for the first time. I never knew his real name was Jason Powers. That's a porn star name, by the way.
Oh my.
Jason Powers. That's a porn star name. Which is appropriate because he be fucking shit up.
He really does.
Yeah.
I can't attest to anything else, but yes, lyrically.
Yeah, Elzhi from Detroit. I tied him into this discussion because in 2011, he put out a project called Illmatic, which was simultaneously an homage to Illmatic and an example of how he would have done it. And he used like samples from the project. He used similar ideas, similar concepts, but he proceeds to rip it for a little bit longer than I think Nas did too.
And it actually has Detroit themes instead of It doesn't use the how instead of New York.
And there's a couple iterations of Illmatic I learned too. Like there's a couple different versions of it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
I got it when it first came out, so I'm not sure what happened afterwards.
I did too.
But it is overall an incredibly dope project that Aaron didn't feel the need to give energy to. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Aaron would not listen to Illmatic for the longest.
Why?
I never said I listened to it.
He said he was tired. He was tired of the Illmatic interpretations. Because I think
there were some others, like for those who didn't know that there were some others. Yep.
Fashion did one. Who else? Aaron did a couple of them.
Some it was like different artists. It was various artists doing different tracks, their own versions of them or whatever. But I heard at least two before I listened to this. And I like Elzhi. Like he always bring his A game, like especially like
but yeah, looking at his Wikipedia page, I realized there's a lot I haven't listened to. There's a lot I didn't know about.
I think of all the ones that I listened to, of all the the different variations and different people's takes on their version of Illmatic. Of course, I'm probably biased.
Probably.
Shut up. Because I'm from Detroit, and because he was in Slum Village at one point, and I love Slum, and I love him. No.
Why not? They have a rotating cast of characters.
But they don't mean to have a rotating cast of characters. Like two of their cast of characters are deceased, and that's the reason why partially that they changed. It wasn't because they mean to do it. It's because James died.
Like Slum Village can be anybody who was affiliated with the group at any point in time.
They're because what's the name is also kind of an honorary member, and he's a singer. He's not. It's almost like how Frank Ocean is. Yeah.
I like Dweller.
It's almost like Frank Ocean and Our Future. Yeah, I love Dweller, but so I like Illmatic probably more than all the other incarnations of Illmatic that I heard. It may be too because I connect to all of the images and the feelings that he evokes in me of Detroit because I grew up there.
True,
so
true.
I'm kind of
on the fence. I'm kind of on the fence about Elzhi though because he's got a strong enough following that I wouldn't necessarily consider him up and coming.
I mean, but he's Ad 2 is really quote unquote up and coming. He's been out for a while, right?
Yeah, Ad 2's been out since what I say 07, 06 probably before. The earliest one I could find was from 07 for Ad 2.
I think more that they just slept on and people don't know who they are and they should.
Which is unfortunate.
Like
Super unfortunate.
And I heard that Nas praised Illmatic.
Right.
I didn't know that.
That's why
I didn't know that. I was wondering.
This probably the only rendition I would count as like one of the more official ones. And not just
it's
because
very well done. It's very well done.
Not just because it was praised by Nas, but because it was well done.
Mm-hmm.
It's very well.
Like a lot of the other,
it's good that you have that though.
Yeah. But he's mainly done a lot of features throughout his career. He's got a lot of mixtapes, a lot of which I haven't listened to. And he's been on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Slum Village albums. Yep. He was on Trinity Pass in 2002. He was on Detroit Deli in 2004.
I have
on Slum Village.
Both of those.
I don't have either one of those. I've heard parts of them. He was on.
I play Detroit Deli a lot. I like it.
Detroit Deli, I've been meaning to get a hard copy of. That's what I think of when I think of Slum Village. Detroit Deli.
Really?
Yeah. When I
A
think
bunch of Slum
Village
fans just woke up and are trying to find you so they can backhand slap you. Because
well, tell them, I'm here. Tell them I'm
when
here.
When they think of Slum Village, they think of Fantastic Volume 1 and 2. And they will definitely tell your ass that. Because those are the ones that are extremely Dilla-centric.
Yeah, I love Dilla. Rest in peace, Dilla. That part when Common's book, when he was talking about living with Dilla, that was hard to read.
It was. And for everybody who doesn't know this, too, I grew up with James. So it sometimes becomes like bittersweet for me to talk about that, and so I kind of veer away from talking about it a lot because I get sad when I think about it. I actually get sad that that we talk about people like Jay-Z and like we had to lose something and someone so amazing. But we got this garbage that I'm still dealing with, and I don't understand that. But that's neither here nor there. It's not for me to say.
Yeah, well, Dilla definitely left his mark. He left his mark. He left his mark, and we can celebrate what he did before he left.
Yeah. Elzhi is definitely dope. Rest in peace to Dilla. And Elzhi is definitely dope. And if you don't know him, let's spell his name for everybody, because nobody's gonna find it.
Good point. So, Elzhi is spelled E as in Echo, L as in Larry, Z as in Zebra, H as in Helicopter, I as in Indigo. Elzhi.
I love how you just did that.
Right. I work at a help desk, in case you couldn't tell.
Yeah, I did too. So I would do the same thing.
I have to do that from time to time.
Z is in Zebra.
But let's bounce off Elzhi for a second and talk about Slum Village's last 2 mixtapes.
Oh.
Dirty Slums.
Well, we only have 7 minutes left.
Yeah, I know. The Dirty Slums were incredible. And they were filled with like this tag team cast of characters. Like nobody that was on the first one was consistently on the second one, which is partially, I think, a problem. That they have that lack of consistency with the people that's doing the input. But at the same time, it shows like their diversity and how far out their ability to craft dope hip hop reaches. Like they can reach out to a wide range of people to contribute to that project. Which I think
you know what, I actually do like that too. I like that it's taken on this sort of and I guess you could call it gorilla-esque, but I mean there are other people outside like the gorillas who have done that kind of stuff. Like Steely Dan is a representation of like just in playing music where there's only two people who are the same and don't move and rotate. And I guess at this point the only person that doesn't move and rotate is the original member that is still alive, T3.
Yeah. He's the constant.
Yep, he's the only constant. And everybody else is kind of like a moving, a moving chess piece.
But everybody who's ever a part of anything Slum remains a part of Slum until they die.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're a part of Slum Village, anything, you're a part of Slum Village until you die.
Is that like also being Tiger Woods?
It's a little deeper than that.
Okay. I am Tiger Woods. I am Malcolm X.
It's like with the Dungeon family. Like anybody who was there in the basement
is always there. Yeah.
Is always gonna be Slum Village. I mean, not Slum Village.
But what if they weren't wearing a shirt versus wearing a shirt?
If they were wearing a shirt, if they didn't have on a shirt, if they were like CeeLo and chose not to wear drawers, they still a part. They still a part of the dungeon. CeeLo, your episode is coming, bro. I ain't forget about you.
Hey, yo.
CeeLo's episode is coming. But yeah, like if you were ever a part of the original dungeon, if you were down in the basement with the muddy walls and the dirty floor and sitting on the steps and all that, then you are forever linked to the dungeon. And I feel like Slum Village is the same kind of thing.
Well, it's a slum and it's a village, and and it came from a Tribe Called Quest song, actually.
Yeah.
The name of the Slum Village. Yeah, it actually came from.
Their own episode too.
Well, they will. It actually came from Fight Dog and
that hurt.
on the second album I'm saying, yeah, where he talks about Slum Village Gold, still dangling ears, Butter, the song Butter from Low End Theory.
It's like butter, y'all.
It's like butter, baby. So,
yeah. Hurt.
Oh, that hurt like hell.
I still didn't get over that.
I still cry.
I still tear up. I tear up. I tear up when I think about that.
Yeah. But we're nearing the end of our show. I was too. I was so hoping he was gonna get another transplant or he was gonna pull out of that, but
shit.
I feel like our show is taking a turn because we started talking about fallen soldiers, and but I still would say,
Memorial Day, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me give some applause to Aaron. That boy be on point.
So we gotta. If we talking about Memorial Day, we gotta talk about Guru.
We gotta talk about our fallen soldiers, Guru.
I would not be the man I was today if it wasn't for Gangstar.
None of us will be. I also want to say Heavy D. I was crying yesterday because I was playing one of your songs, and
Heavy D was nasty. Yo. Let me talk about how low key nasty Heavy D was. Go to Queen Latifah's album, Black Rain.
Oh, I love that album.
Look up If It Ain't Rough. It's got Queen Latifah, Heavy D, Tretch, and somebody else I'm forgetting. I feel like I'm forgetting them, and I'm sorry. I apologize profusely. But If It Ain't Rough is like the nastiest. Like, yo, they ripped that junk.
Aaron, you're right though, because we talked about a lot of people. Like, we actually thematically talked about a whole bunch of people that died today without even trying.
Yep, it just happened that way.
That's some crazy shit right there. How did we do that?
It just happened that way.
Well, like, now one day someone will take this podcast and turn it into a 60-page book. And that man will be Michael Eric Dyson.
Are you listening? Michael Eric, I write long ass books, Dyson. his
People
friends.
say, "Oh my God, I heard the Born to Use Mike show. That shit was slamming," and now I'll write a thing on Facebook about it.
But let's
So
talk about
what's up with homework?
Thomas.
What's up with homework though?
Oh, word. So next week, we're coming with the origin of Black music and Black Music Month. So if you want to do some research on Black Music Month and any type of Black music for this country, just get in there, watch some YouTube vids, read some books. Hopefully some by Dr. Dyson if you can avoid them.
Are we gonna have to talk about Negro spirituals?
What?
Are we gonna have to talk about Negro spirituals?
You know.
Are we wading in the water? Are we following the drinking board?
We possibly.
I think we will. Yeah.
There's a lot of hip hop found that.
But that's the show. So we're glad you hung out, and school's officially out. Come back with us.
Come back where we dive more into this book.
Oh Lord.
Oh gosh, yeah.
3 more chapters will still put us at not done.
Not done at all. Not done. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
You've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, my family's got major plans for Memorial Day, but one minor problem.
No pool floats.
More like nothing fun to wear.
Get to Old Navy now.
Old Navy?
Yep, Old Navy's celebrating Memorial Day in a really big way with a huge 50% off all tees, all tanks, all shorts, and all swimwear.
50% off all those styles?
That's right. Right now, get 50% off all tees, tanks, shorts, and swimwear for the whole family at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
That's one major sale. We're going to Old Navy now.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid 5/22 through 6/2. Excludes clearance, active flag tees and tanks, license, and men's package tops. You've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, my family's got major plans for Memorial Day, but one minor problem.
No pool floats.
More like nothing fun to wear.
Get to Old Navy now.
Old Navy?
Yep, Old Navy's celebrating Memorial Day in a really big way with a huge 50% off all tees, all tanks, all shorts, and all swimwear.
50% off all those styles?
That's right. Right now, get 50% off all tees, tanks, shorts, and swimwear for the whole family at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
That's one major sale. We're going to Old Navy now.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid 5/22 through 6/2. Excludes clearance, active flag tees and tanks, license, and men's package tops.